you know, welcome to the show, Brooks. I want you to tell me about your band, what it's called. Tell the viewers all about your metal-inspired band, and I can guess Norwegian black metal because of the V instead of the U.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks so much for having me on the show, Ryan. My name's
Absolutely.
Rocco. I play guitar in a band called Cryptide. We are surf metal. You want to know what we sound like? It's surf metal. Imagine what surf metal sounds like. That's what we sound like, or at least that's what we hope. Yeah, we've been playing for a few years now, but I've been playing surfed up metal or metaled up surf for a few years, actually, before even we started this band. I can tell you a little bit about the history of how it all came about, but the band's Cryptide, the album's called Surf Metal. It sounds like surf metal. It is surf metal. Check it out. I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing.
Oh, nice. It's the link will be in Bandcamp, where they can go check it out, and it's pretty badass. Like the kind, you'll see like the band logo will be kind of like, and then yeah, and it's got the little 80s metal spike bracelet on, and there are, what I've noticed in the past few years is like a even a subgenre of bands like Beach Bomb and other bands like that who incorporate black metal or just metal in general into their sound because of the percussive picking.
Yeah, it's not like, I think a lot of people have had this realization over the years. We're not the first people to do this by any stretch of the imagination. But I think, a lot of people, you'll see like on YouTube, people will do like, here's what metal sounds like without distortion, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not like a new thing. What I kind of was excited about, though, to explore with this band is not just like covers of metal songs without distortion, but kind of like taking the energy of metal, or like the songwriting process, or like the diametric angle of songwriting with like parts, you know what I mean? And like a journey that you might go on, but like with the surfy kind of vibe. And you're right that like the tremolo picking, the Dick Dale thing, like that is metal. I mean, we can talk all day about like, who founded metal, Black Sabbath, Blue Cheer, things like that. The debate rages on. But like Dick Dale was straight up playing metal guitar before, Sabbath decided to make it super evil. He was doing his own kind of thing. So that sort of like tremolo pick vibe is super metal. And what's funny is like the first time that I had the realization, I think a lot of people have like independently have this realization, but the first time I had the realization, I was just like, oh my god, tremolo surf is metal. What would Slayer's Angel of Death sound like if it was surf rock? So around 2017, I decided I wanted to hear what that sounded like. So I started learning the tune. I mean, I guess I always kind of knew the tune because I grew up playing metal, but I switched off the distortion, cranked up the reverb, and started playing Angel of Death, and I started recording it. And I thought, this is actually pretty sweet. Maybe I should record the whole Rain and Blood album as a surf rock album. So I did, and I threw it up on Bandcamp. I called it Surfin' Blood. The name was right there, had to take it. And I threw it up on Bandcamp. I didn't like promote it or like really go out of my way to like tell people about it, but folks started finding it and listening to it and buying it. I mean, I put it up for $0 because I wasn't trying to make money on it, just like, pay what you want. People started like throwing $10 at me here and there because they thought it was super cool. I called it Surfer, kind of like Slayer, but Surfer, SURFYR. And it was, literally I just did it because I wanted to hear what Rain and Blood would sound like as surf. And the fact that people started digging it made me think, oh my god, people actually like this? Maybe we should explore, or maybe I should explore some original tunes, what like a surfy metal sort of thing would sound like. And I called up my friend Ian, who's an amazing drummer and also like a metal journalist. He writes for like Decibel and a few other metal zines, Invisible Oranges and stuff like that. He's like a scholar of heavy metal, but also a great drummer and a great friend. And we started jamming on it at his rehearsal studio. We played some of the Angel of Death stuff, some of the Slayer tunes, but we started messing around with original songs, and that is where Ice Surf came from. That's where we covered an Emperor song. Emperor's like a famous black metal band. We did I Am the Black Wizards, and wrote some more original tunes, and felt great. We were kind of like laughing our ass off the entire time at how silly the whole thing was. So we thought it sounded really cool. And everyone that we played it for, everyone that, sat in on the sessions or, caught wind of what we were doing was like, this stuff is sick, man, and it's so fun. It's so fun to take like the metal atmosphere or the genesis of where that kind of songwriting came from, but apply surf mentality to it. And we're just having a great time doing it. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for shouting us out.
It's got that more of like you remember bands like Candlemass and things like that. They had that like cathedral type aesthetic. You can hear that haunting. That's like the ambiance I'm getting, like surrounding your tunes. Like there's always that kind of reverbish echo thing going on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from the organ. So when Ian and I were first jamming, just the two of us, drums and guitar, we were thinking like, all right, how do we expand the sound a bit? And we thought about maybe adding another guitar. Obviously we need bass, but no, and Ian was like, what this really needs is some Hammond B3 or some real organ, some vibe, some surf vibe to fill it out. 2 guitars might even be too much. So Ian had a friend named John Schneidman, who's a brilliant keyboard player, probably the best musician out of any of us. Like, I just pretend to play guitar. That's how I feel like as a musician. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of like up there cosplaying what a good guitar player sounds like. But this dude is an actual like trained, incredible musician. Puts us all to shame. But he's brilliant and filled up the sound. And yeah, I mean, if there's any of that sort of like gothic, doom, Candlemass ambiance, like that's all him.
Oh, nice. What is the band called? Did you say it was Surfer? That was the name of the. Surfer or Surfyer. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's a play on Slayer, so it's Surfyer. Is it still on Bandcamp?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'll put the link for that up as well. What is? I mean, there's. I mean, this sounds like New York. I mean, you have things like Twangstock coming up. Lots of shows, lots of bands touring, definitely coming through New York. Your plans?
Sorry, I think you cut out there a second ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lots of bands coming in on tour during the summertime. What is your lineup look like this summer?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I don't have a full schedule planned out at the moment, unfortunately. You're right that now is probably the time to start planning out the summer, huh?
Oh, I don't know. There's already I already have tickets for the Master Chops coming up and stuff like that in Philly. So I assumed they were coming through your town. I'm
heading to Cavalera Conspiracy next week. So okay. I'm super excited to see Max and Igor bust out some old Sepultura tunes. Emperor, I mentioned, we do a Surf Emperor cover. Emperor's playing, I think next month. Or no, I'm sorry, they're playing in May. I've got tickets to that, super excited there. And Meshuggah and Cannibal Corpse are playing at Madison Square Garden. Meshuggah is, I don't know how we could ever possibly do a surf version of Meshuggah, but maybe that's the challenge we need to explore.
drummer sounds like he's playing two or three different songs in one song. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no, they're legends. They're one of my favorite bands of all time by far.
Really, really.
They're in my top five. Meshuggah's in my top five.
So, when I first heard Emperor, I was watching Headbangers Ball, and I hear this band who looks totally metal. I'd never seen black metal before in my life, and you know, MTV was still a little conservative, even though it had metal on the show. It still did play certain things, and Emperor was on, and they had this song that went "Bow to Me Faithfully," and that low chant. I was like, God damn! Like what is that?
When I was growing up, and discovering metal and exploring the Scandinavian stuff, I mean, it was like reading a forbidden book.
Yes.
Right? It was like you stumbled on something that you were not supposed to see. I mean, I grew up in upstate New York, and you know, we were kind of exploring early internet stuff, but we still had to like travel to get CDs or to get. I guess I wasn't even collecting records at that point. It was still just CDs, and they were hard to get. You know, like you could go to like Sam Goody or Best Buy to get like the stuff that's on the charts, the stuff that's generally available, the stuff you might see on MTV. But like to get the real underground stuff, I remember my friend Mike and I used to like go on journeys. He like just got his driver's license, and we would like drive out to Middletown or like way out there because we just heard about this like underground metal store that had like imports from Europe, and we would go in there and like we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. It was a little freaky. We didn't know who was going to be in there, like what the shopkeeper looked like. Was he a wizard? You know, was he like a troll that we're going to have to like prove our worthiness to see the CDs in his collection? And he was very friendly. Spoiler alert: we didn't have to battle any warlocks or anything to prove ourselves. But like this music was hard to find, and when you could find it, you would buy it kind of sight unseen, or perhaps like based on the recommendation of somebody else. But like it was your job to sort of explore it and learn about it, and you put all this work into finding this music. I remember, gosh, what did we get? We got like Dissection, Storm of the Light's Bane. I don't know if you know that one.
No.
But same world as like Emperor and Dark Throne, and some of the Dissection's pretty well regarded too. But at the time, like it had this like evil artwork, and like the music was like a wall of sound that you had to like listen to over and over and over to uncover its secrets. You know what I mean? And I remember we met this guy, this older kid who's like had been doing this stuff for years, more so than us. And he had this band called Zyklon, Zyklon. I think that I think Samuel from Emperor, this was one of his side projects. And I remember he was just like, "You guys aren't ready for this one." And we were like, "Whoa!" And he ended up playing it for us. And you know what? Quite frankly, he was right, because the intensity was just literally too much for us. We had not like acclimated to it yet. So like, all of which is to say, like, the world of like metal there's like levels to it, and it's like something to explore, and not everyone can handle it right away. And I think that like Cryptide is having a little bit of fun with that, a little bit of fun with the sort of like incomprehensibility and the opaqueness and the scariness of metal, and just trying to make it a little vibier, maybe something you can do a little bit and have a little bit of fun. So I encourage, look, if anybody is interested in what a surfed up black metal tune could sound like, that's what we're all about. I hope folks find it fun, and you know, I hope the metalheads. I always joke that like our music is, or our band is like the softest metal band or the hardest surf band.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of metal bands that covered surf songs. You know, the first being, you know, of course, Anthrax with Pipeline, and then everybody was like, I remember when I got that, it was like the Attack of the Killer Bees or something.
Yeah.
They did Pipeline on there, and I was kind of like, this is something my uncles used to play. And then I was digging, and I read an interview, and he's like, oh yeah, like, we all play this stuff. And I was like, oh, so it's like been this way since the dawn of guitar. Like metalheads everywhere all knew about it, but me as like whatever I was, 16 or 17-year-old kid, didn't understand what like the reference that the guitar player was making, Scotty and
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like young kids, especially, once you discover metal, like I mentioned, it's such a black hole. It kind of like, if you're into it, if it clicks with you for some reason, it kind of like envelops. It kind of has to envelop a few years of your life. Maybe you didn't go as far as like maybe I did into like the deep, deep world of black metal and such. But like for a lot of people that do, like you kind of cast aside everything else because you're like, this is insane and hardcore and scary and exciting. Everything else is kind of like tepid in comparison, right? So I think that like some people might discard older things or less exciting things, and and that's kind of a curse in a way because you don't necessarily get to like discover the pathways that those musicians or those who might be older than you or who originated this stuff went through. I mean, like blues and rock and the Ventures, Pipeline and stuff like that. Those are like formidable, like nodes in the history of rock and roll. Like you don't get to metal without going through surf, or blues or R&B and soul and like all that stuff. You have to go through the tree of life goes through those things to get to where we are today, wherever we have.
There's one of my favorite kind of black metal is
Yeah.
they're kind of like on like the top of extreme metal. They even claim, Nurgle even claims he can't fast as he did 20 years ago even. But he has a side band that's a country project. And being from Poland, I never would have imagined that struck a chord with him, so to speak. But yeah, it like all kind of ties together, like the outlaw, the man in black. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that like a lot of interesting music these days is just remixes or interpolations of like music that has already existed in the past. And like so many interesting styles have been explored to its almost extreme and I mean, take metal for example. I mean, metal is just rock music with everything cranked as far as it can possibly go. That like I don't even know like how to make super innovative just metal anymore. Like heavy metal, don't get me wrong, I love classic heavy metal, but like if you're playing classic heavy metal today, is that really pushing boundaries so much anymore? I don't know. Maybe not, right? Maybe you're just kind of like nodding or paying an homage to classic metal and stuff like that, Judas Priest and
Yeah.
Black Sabbath and all that stuff. So to create like new and interesting music today, I think does require finding influences from like outside the beaten path. So
Yeah.
so surf metal. I mean, almost like spin a wheel and take two genres and then just imagine it into life. I think that have you heard of this band called Zeal and Ardor?
No.
They're a fantastic black metal band, but their music is sort of like a combination of black metal and American slave chanting from the fields when American slaves.
Oh.
So like it's very like chanty, it's very rhythmic, it's very organic, very sad and beautiful and haunting, but also metal as hell, right? So like that whole band came about when I can't remember the main songwriter's name. He literally went on the internet and was like, he just like pulled a social media forum and was like, what kind of music should I make? Name two genres. And those were the two genres that were recommended to him. And he was just like, yeah, let's see what that sounds like. And he started messing around with that sound and stumbled upon something really fantastic. So I love this idea of like remixing genres, but doing it in like a thoughtful, interesting way, not just like a mashup necessarily, or like
Yeah.
telling AI to like make this sound that sounds like this. I mean, that's interesting, I guess now as a technological parlor trick, but I want to hear like a human interpretation of new sounds, and that's what's exciting to me right now.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I'll always be a fan, like a metal kid at heart. Starting, my first metal song I ever learned was "Saints in Hell" by Judas Priest. Even like towards the late '80s into the '90s, they had Painkiller, and like they had not abandoned, but they had progressed to a point where, okay, this is what the future of metal is. And they had no problems stretching themselves to do that.
Yeah, Painkiller. Gosh, that album, a little bit before my time. I think it came out before I was like, but I was like kind of like following that scene. But like when I started like doing my history lessons, as you do as a metalhead, right? You're like, where did all this come from? Started listening to like Judas Priest in order. You're right, like Painkiller was a straight up death metal album. You know what I mean? Like the drumming on that record is like nothing else. I think, well, certainly not in their catalog up until that point, but that was the power of that album could hang with like some of the most extreme bands of that era.
Yeah,
and this is from a band that like started up in the '70s,
Yeah, and like a couple of years before that had the song Turbo Lover. And it was kind of like, wow, they my book, I guess.
Yeah. No, Priest is incredible. I mean, shout out to them for still going strong today. I mean, they're unbelievable. Legends through and through.
Totally. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and not only sharing your new music, but the original idea of the Slayer surf cover album that is also on Bandcamp. They were going to put a link to, and now I know I need to check out another one.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And like I said, like this. Finding diverse influence, is not a new thing, but I think that it's super important for people to listen to music outside of their comfort zone and try new things. And if there's anybody listening that is like a musician or an artist, like I couldn't recommend more. Just like trying things for your own amusement. And I think that's what really comes from a place of honesty and fun. And if you're having fun making music, like I had a ton of fun making surf metal, the Cryptide record that we put out last year, we had so much fun making that like I hope it comes through. And I think that it's contagious. I mean, if you're making art music that you like, and that you can't wipe a smile off your face when doing it, then I think there's something to that. And hopefully other people will feel the same way. And the reception we've been getting has been pretty great. So super excited to chat with you about the record and where it all came from. And hope other people make amazing music too.